Hi, welcome to Booking Through Life. Thanks for stopping in. My voice is a little raspy, so we'll see if we can get through this. I'm trying to get this less than half an hour. It should be able to be way less than a half an hour. Anyway, so here we go. Today we're going to talk about the books that I read kind of mid-March-ish. This is my second March reading wrap-up or reading update. And so we'll talk about the books that I finished and some books that I started and when I'm trying to decide if I'm DNFing, and you can tell me what you think. And sorry, my I don't know if the sun keeps going behind the clouds or if it's my computer or what, but the my coloring kind of fades and then gets oranger, and I don't know what's going on. So anyway, we'll just press on. So the first book that I want to talk about is The Secrets of Hartwood Hall by Katie Lumsden. And in my last video, I was really gushing about Katie's book. She really is quite a good author. This book is very well written. It's very engaging right on the get-go. She's very atmospheric and really gives you a little bit of a kind of suspenseful and really a page turner. It's written in 5 volumes. I really love the first 2 volumes. And the third volume, it kind of takes a little bit of a turn and it gets off of the main storyline, but it is crucial to the storyline. But it kind of slowed things down a little bit for me. And but as it turned out, as it kept going and you got to the 5th volume, it turned out just the book just really wasn't quite the book for me. I'm sure there's some of you who are going to love this book, and I think that's great because I really do wish Katie all the success in the world. But for me, it just wasn't quite the book, and here's why. There was a little bit of promiscuity, which, I read a book that has a little bit of promiscuity in it. There's some steam. The steam I thought was tastefully done. I actually read through it a lot of times. I will just skip the steamy parts if it's a bit steamy. But I thought it was well written. I just wasn't really happy with the resolution. The resolution with the relationship for me just isn't where I like to go with relationships. And then something else happens. There's another part of the storyline that got a little graphic and a little just a subject matter that I didn't want to delve into and in the nature that it did. So, but having said that, good job, Katie. I wish you all the luck. I'm not sad. I do not feel like it was a waste of my time to read this book. It just didn't end up how I would like a book to end up. So that's that. Let me know what you thought about it. And yeah, I'd love to hear your comments. The next book I read was Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. And this is a book about Phileas Fogg and his journey around the world and his bet that he can make it in 80 days. Phileas Fogg is a very exact, very precise, and very routine type of person. So in some ways, this kind of fit his personality in that it was very precise. You go here and it's going to take you so many days, and then you take a steamer and you go here and it's going to take so many days until you get around the world. He also likes to bet. It isn't that he's like addicted to winning money and he wants more money. He's quite rich in his own right, but he does like to win, and he usually gives his winnings away. And it comes out, he's at his club, and it comes out in the Daily Telegraph that there's a way to travel around the world in 80 days, and so he bets that he can. And he takes his new valet. He just hired a new valet, Passepartout. He takes him with him, and then this chronicles their adventures. Meanwhile, there's another plot line. there's been a bank robbery in London, and it is felt that the description matches Phileas Fogg. And so Detective Fix is on the hunt, is on the chase to arrest Phileas Fogg. And so, yeah, the book has a little bit of dryness to it. I don't know if it's Jules Verne's style, or if he kind of included these things. Hi, Jinx. Jinx is joining us. If he included these things because Phileas Fogg is a very exact, very precise, very routine type of guy, and so maybe the facts kind of suited what would be Phileas Fogg's personality. But I found those, like, I personally didn't care what the ship weighed or how long the tracks were, just kind of things like that. And I thought there were some really good adventure stories, but then I also thought there was some kind of dry, mundane parts. It really picks up when he gets into America and he's going across America on train. And I will have to say that the last 5 or 6 lines were my absolute favorite and made this book for me. So I enjoyed it. I'm glad I read it. The next book that I read was called True Blue Murder by Elise M. Stone. And it's the first book of the African Violet Club Mysteries. I got this book at the Tucson Festival of Books that I went to last month. And it's really quite a prestigious book event. It has a lot of major authors. I wasn't able to go and listen to any of the major author talks, so I decided to focus on buying some books by some local authors. And I came across this table. I don't know what the name of the publisher is. It was a publisher's table, I guess Savano Press, and I really like this cover. It's done by Susan Coyles. And so I thought I would give it a try. I used to love African violets when I was younger. And so I thought, well, I don't know much about growing them, but maybe it will be fun. Well, let me tell you, I'm trying to give her grace because I do think this was her first book. And she does write. There is, I think, 6 or 7 books in this series, and she has another series. So someone must like her books, but I didn't quite get along with her books. The premise is this Liliana Wentworth. She lives at the Rainbow Ranch retirement community, somewhere between Tucson and Benson, kind of out in the sticks. It isn't really a town, so to speak. There's just the retirement community and a few other homes. There is a sheriff's detective, and there's like one convenience store. And anyway, it starts out the African Violet Club is having a show. There's this woman, Bet, who kind of steals some leaves from Liliana and another guy named Frank, and she ends up growing the same hybrids that they actually created. And she ends up winning over Liliana with Liliana's very own blue hybrid. And then Bet ends up dead. The murder weapon is Liliana's softball bat. So Liliana ends up being the main suspect, and she also decides to become kind of an amateur sleuth in the midst. I was engaged with the writing style. I mean, it was good enough that I could, I was able to read it, but it was a little mundane, a little slow. It took about 2/3 of the way in order to even know who might be some of the other suspects and why they may have wanted to kill Bet. And then the book takes this really bizarre turn. Liliana gets arrested. This old 90-year-old guy who she kind of was thinking about dating, which seemed really weird too. The 90-year-old guy wasn't portrayed in any way that I know of 90-year-olds acting. He was the owner of the convenience store. I don't know. Anyway, he ended up admitting to committing the murder. Sorry, I'm giving it away, but I don't really think you're going to read this book. And then, this is it. You got to listen to this, though. So they end up going on this. He takes the murderer, Liliana, and the police chief go on this hike to these caverns that I can't remember his name. I think his name is Ted. But anyway, Ted. That Ted had discovered, and he had told Bet about, and told Bet what was in these caverns. And this was why he murdered her. So they go hiking, and then they go in these caverns, and they have to, it's really kerplunking. Like they're crawling around and they're getting muddy and all this stuff. And then they get to this middle open area, and there is a fairy queen named Esmeralda, and she talks to them. And I'm like, what? Did I read that correctly? I had to go back and reread it again. Yes, there's a fairy queen, and her name is Esmeralda. I'm like, what the heck? How did this happen? Why did she think that she wanted to write this in this like realistic, cozy mystery? So, and then I won't tell you the very end, but the ending isn't very satisfactory either. So it just was a little too quirky and a little too slow for me. So I don't recommend that book. And now you know about it anyway. So, but maybe I thought, you know what, maybe I need to give her a second chance. So maybe I'll check out one of her next books. I don't know. Or at least look at and see on Goodreads. She is on Goodreads. So maybe I'll look and see if what some other reviews were on her next book. To see if maybe she got over that fairy princess thing for her cozy mysteries. Anyway, so the next book I read was The Year of Miss Agnes by Kirkpatrick Hill. And this was for, this is a middle grade, so it works for middle grade March. And it was also Kate Howe's Kindred Spirits group. I wasn't able to meet with the Kindred Spirits. I went to look at the wildflowers in my local area. So I really, really, really loved this book. I thought it was really super sweet. The one problem I thought that this book had was it wasn't long enough. I really wish that we would have taken a deeper dive into these stories. So the narrator is Frederica, also known as Fred. She's 10 years old. She's one of the students in this very rural village community in Alaska, where they really survive on trapping and fishing. There's just enough kids in the village that they have a small schoolhouse, and they have a very hard time finding teachers who will stay, and also who are good teachers. And so someone recruits Miss Agnes because she's known to be a teacher who will teach in these small communities and also is very engaging with the students. So when she first comes on scene, Fred is absolutely certain that she's just going to be another lame teacher. And right off the bat, she finds out that Miss Agnes is going to be a little bit different. And so it ends up just chronicling some adventures and some stories on how Miss Agnes really catches their imagination, how she's not your typical teacher, and how she really becomes beloved. And she opens up to these kids in the small community that there's so much more out there. There's more out there that they could do and be, and maybe even going to college and going on with their education is a possibility for them. Fred's mom isn't entirely bought into the idea of education. She thinks that her girls, she has an older daughter as well, she thinks her girls just need to learn like trapping and cooking and things that a woman would need to survive in the village. And that you just, year after year, generation after generation, you just stay in the village. One of the storylines that in particular that I loved was that Fred's older sister, Bokka, Bokka, I'm going to call her Bokka, she's deaf. And she does not go to school. She's never been able to go to school. Miss Agnes finds out about her and tells Fred, bring your sister to school. So she does. And Miss Agnes decides that she's going to learn sign language, and she's going to teach Boca sign language. And then pretty soon Fred's learning sign language, and the other students are learning sign language. And for the first time, Boca and her mother are able to have a more deeper communication and understanding, and it's very exciting, and it kind of opens up her mom's eyes to the benefits and the possibilities that education gives a person. And even the villagers are starting to learn some sign language. So I just really loved this picture of what can happen when hearing people want to start to embrace sign language so that they can communicate more with deaf people, and how much that opens up possibilities for both hearing and deaf people to understand each other more and to not be isolated from each other. I just wish more people would be like this little community where deafness is concerned. So love this book. Definitely a 5-star. Oh, and the last chapter is the icing on the cake. It was so heartwarming, and it made me cry. I love that book. The next book I read and finished was Entwined by Heather Dixon. This was my book for your Read Your Bookshelf in 2023 challenge, hosted by Chantel. Reads all day. And it was to read a book with a title with the next letter in it. It was connected to last month, and so it was supposed to be an N, but I didn't have an N, so I went with sounds like N, Entwined. I really like this book. I think I may have talked about it a little bit. No, maybe I'm not sure. Anyway, I really liked it that the cover has a tie-in with the storyline. Silver has a tie-in with the magic in the storyline of the book. In this book, I won't tell too much about it. I'll just say there's themes of father-daughter relationship and healing in father-daughter relationship. There's strong sister themes. There's magic in this book. It has a little bit of Phantom of the Opera vibes, but instead of music, it's dancing. It's about 12 princesses, especially Azalea, the oldest princess. And it is based off of the 12 Dancing Princesses, but with a little bit of a twist. And I thought it was very well done. And there's a little bit of romance. There's some funny parts. There's some little bit of suspenseful parts. And yeah, I really recommend it. I thought it was really good. So that's Entwined. Then those are the books that I finished. So one book that I started, and I'm sorry, I got cat hair on my nose now, I started this last month, or even the month before, Anne of Windy Poplars by Ellen Montgomery. It's book 4 of the Anne of Green Gables series. And I'm just not sure if I want to finish it. It started out with very flowery descriptions as Anne was writing letters to Gilbert telling him about Windy Poplars. It has little snippets of storylines or little snippets of characters in Windy Poplars. I don't really feel like there's an overarching storyline, and we're not really getting much about what's happening to the people in Green Gables. Davy, and I can't remember his twin sister's name, or Marilla, or even what's happening with Gilbert. And I'm just not into it. So I'm thinking I'm going to DNF it. Maybe I'll read a little bit here and there. I don't know, but I think I'll just move on to book 5 and see if it gets back to a story, because this isn't really the kind of book that I want to read. My voice is really weak today. So, okay. The other 3 books that I started really quickly. Yours Cheerfully by A.J. Pearce. It's the second book in what's becoming a series, the Emmy Lake series. Book 3 will be coming out in August. I'm so excited. And I just I'm loving this book. So I will tell more in my next update about what this is about. But I'm really, really loving it. It is not disappointing. And then Kat at Kat's Novel Adventures. Go check out her channel. She is so much fun. And she has an announcement video for an April readathon. I think it's like a nostalgia April. So I'll put that in my description box. But we're reading The Midnight Library, and we're going to have our first discussion in a couple of days on Monday. And it's really good. I'm having a hard time putting it down. But I'm to the point where I've read enough of it and I want to talk about it before I read more. So, yeah, it deals with some hard things: depression, regrets, and this might be a trigger for some people, suicide. So I'm hoping it will have a hopeful ending. But anyway, so that's what that book is kind of about, but it's very good. And then the other book that I started was a book for the Around the World in 80 Days challenge with the setting in Singapore, and that's Crazy Rich Asians by Kwan. And I had seen the movie, and so far it's pretty much following what the movie pretty much has followed the book. But I'm just barely starting it, but I'm really liking it so far. So that's that. So that's that for this. This is that. That's that. This and that for for this video. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you've been reading, if you've read any of these books, and what you thought about them. What do you think about Anne of Windy Poplars? Does it get better? Should I keep reading it, or should I just go on to the next book? Anyway, I'm almost at 200 subscribers. I only need 3 more. So if you haven't subscribed, please do help me to get to 200, and feel free to like, and I'll see you later. And until then, I hope all of your books are good books. And Jinx and I, he's still here. Oops, I just disrupted him. Jinx and I say, I hope you have a good day. And I'll see you later. Bye.